Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. We're recording today from the beautiful Advisors Mortgage Group studio right here in downtown Carmel. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy. I've been in mortgages and real estate for over 34 years. My team and I believe in custom tailored loans, not the one size fits all approach. We believe there is a right mortgage for you, and we believe we are the team to deliver it.
And I'm Ian Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for 15 years, helping customers improve their credit so they can get the best interest rates possible, and also helping you secure your future through real estate. I have a passion in helping you pay off your home early and also to get generation wealth.
For the most up-to-date information on Indy's real estate market or mortgages, please go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call Ian or I at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And today we have a huge guru here. It's amazing. John, you've been in the business, and it's John Stewart with FC Tucker. He's been in the business since 1975?
Correct.
Yeah. So you've been, and I met John, I'm guessing somewhere around 91, 92 is probably when I got into real estate with the Estridge companies.
Probably.
Yeah. At least if I met you, but I certainly heard your name probably immediately when I got in. There are several agents you hear about, you continue to hear about. You're one of those.
That's just because I'm old, Rick.
Well, join the party. Thanks for joining us. We do appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And if somebody had any real estate needs, any questions, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
My cell phone's the best way, 317-496-4033.
Perfect. So 317-496-4033?
That's correct.
All right, perfect. And so I know it was a while back, but before real estate, what did you do? And then how did you transition into real estate?
It's kind of interesting. My mom and dad moved, believe it or not, 26 times in 35 years. I only moved 3 of those. Dad was in the Navy and then worked for Pittman Moore, Dow Chemical, and J&J. So I experienced 3 of those moves, one from Dallas, where I was born, to Indianapolis, and then one from Indianapolis to Midland, Michigan, and then back to Indy. But I've been basically in Indy since I was 5 years old. I majored in real estate at IU and graduated in 75 and went right to work for Tucker out of school.
Wow. I didn't know there was a real estate degree.
Out of the Kelley School of Business.
Is there still?
There is, yes.
Okay, awesome. And so you just went right in. How did you get going? What was your, because it's not easy to get going in real estate. And 1975, interest rates were at?
Probably close to where they are today,
okay,
around 6 to 7%.
And then right after that?
So it's interesting. The first 7 months that I worked for Tucker, I did not sell a house. And I got very tired of people saying, have you sold one yet? Have you sold one yet? And it was very discouraging. But because of my youth, even my contemporary friends, they weren't buying, they were renting.
Right.
And I remember some friends of my mom and dad were all excited that I was getting in the business. And I was really bummed when they listed their house with somebody else. And later they called me to both sell their existing condo and find them another condo. And while I was driving around, I said, guys, you were so excited I got in the business in 75. Why didn't you reach out to me then? And they said, well, John, you weren't proven then. And we didn't want to put the most expensive asset of our lifetime in the hands of someone who wasn't experienced. And I said, oh, okay, I get it. But it was very frustrating to learn that.
Yes. And I understand why people do it. It's kind of unfair as long as the person is in it, like at a Tucker or someplace where you have mentors and people who will guide you through. Because it's not just about you, it's about your team around you, the people around you that are helping you get to know what you're doing, right?
Well, exactly. And that's why I think today, Rick, a lot of people do join teams to get started in the business. And then once they get the hang of it, they break off and go on their own.
Yeah, that's been a big change, and at least what I've seen. That's a huge change in the business. The way that people get into teams, and these teams have they have systems, they have processes, they have mentors, and they really do help a new agent get going. And Tucker has phenomenal training. Everybody tells us that. I mean, it's phenomenal.
It's excellent. And I have a small team. So Shannon McNulty Everly started with me 26 years ago and is still with me. And I think maybe except for some married couples that are in the real estate business in the local market, we may have been together longer than any team that exists out there.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Well,
26 years.
yeah. I mean,
and how many is your years? I
48.
48. So
Yeah, so she's put up with me, about half
Yeah.
her life.
yes. so next year you'll have 75 years between the two of you.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
that's not enough years. Get a few more in.
We're getting the hang of it.
Yeah. You got your practice done. Now you're ready to really try it out.
Exactly.
So, what would you say the biggest difference between when you first started and like selling houses now?
Probably technology, Ian. I mean, back in '75, we had these huge MLS books. I still have my first one, and you couldn't wait for the new books to arrive on the truck. And you'd scan through those and look for new listings. And then if you saw something that you were scheduling houses for people, you'd go to the copy machine and you'd put asterisks by the ones that you wanted to cut out. And it was a little bit archaic. Certainly compared to today, where you look at the computer and find anything you want to find and put in search parameters in there. But there's been a lot of changes. We didn't use lock boxes back then. My wife thought that on the way to be when I was going to be buried, she thought I would, lean up out of the coffin and say, "Could we turn left here? I've got some keys." I always had a bunch of keys on the front console that I was returning, or I had to go pick up keys, and that's not done anymore. We all use lock boxes.
Yeah, that's a huge change because you could have. I remember people would be showing a house in Carmel, but the person that listed was in Greenwood, and you'd have to go down and get the keys, and you'd have to
Exactly.
bring them up here, open it, and then you have to take them back down. Yeah, it was a lot.
It was a lot of time.
Is there anything that you wish was still being done the same way it was back then?
The only thing I miss, Rick, is that sometimes because of the technology, you walk into a closing and you don't know who's the buyer, who's the realtor. You've never met the other agent. You've talked to them on the phone, but in many cases, you walk in and you're introducing yourself because you've never met these folks. Before, when you'd go to pick up a key, deliver an offer, deliver a counter offer, it was all done in person.
Yeah.
That's gone away. I miss that.
Yeah, I can see that. Never thought of that.
I mean, it does keep out some of the hostility. What do you mean you offered this? Leave my office.
I don't know. John doesn't seem like a real hothead. I'll just say.
You've never had him negotiate a great price for your house, have you?
Yeah, but he did it without getting mad. So there. So it's just so interesting because you've lived so much. So in the real estate industry, so you have this team, and it's you and your and what's her name again?
Shannon.
And Shannon, and she's got 26 years. You have 38 years.
48.
48.
Come on.
48 years. And so you've seen all these changes. You've seen all that. What do you think, though, today that some of the benefits of the technology and those things that we do have available that you didn't have back then?
Well, it certainly streamlined things. When you need to present an offer, you can send it via DocuSign or Dotloop, and people can execute offers and counter offers, listing contracts, without you physically having to get in the car and drive across town. So it's a real time saver. Now, that's assuming that you've got people that are fairly tech savvy. If you get someone in their 80s or 90s, guess what? You're still driving to their house because they don't understand how to operate all that. But it's been a great time saver.
Yeah. Technology has saved a lot of time. And sometimes, as you said, your older customers, it tends to be, but there are some young people are not very tech savvy. But for the most part, it's older people like us. Like most of my friends, their kids laugh because I'm very tech savvy, and their dad and mom are not very tech savvy normally. So I'm an oddball. You probably are too because you have to do it all the time.
Well, not as tech savvy as Shannon, my partner, but
well, she's a lot younger than you.
Exactly.
So, what's kept you going I know some people get tired of their job after 5, 10 years and won't want to switch and everything. But you've been doing it for so long. What just keeps you motivated?
Debt.
It's always a good motivator, isn't it?
No, and I've really enjoyed the business. I enjoy interacting with people. I would tell you that two of my favorite groups of people to work with on the buy side are first-time home buyers. I love educating them. You feel like you're kind of a teacher to them. And I love people coming in from out of town that have never seen central Indiana. Um, in 75, when I drove downtown, it was kind of like a ghost town. After 5 o'clock, everybody went home to the suburbs. So it wasn't as much fun then as it is today to be able to take people downtown over to the Speedway, to see our art museum, to see the Colts facility, the Pacers facility. And it's just a vibrant downtown. And there are a lot of people that are not familiar with Indianapolis or central Indiana, and they get here and they're like just shocked at how nice it is. And so I enjoy introducing the communities to people coming in from out of state, and seeing how surprised and pleasantly surprised they are about what we have to offer.
Yeah, there's a little less cornfields though too now.
That's true.
Not that many, really.
Have you seen what Carmel has become?
Well, in certain areas, like Marion County doesn't have a lot of cornfields,
No.
but back then it had quite a few cornfields.
I used to have a welcome to Indianapolis letter that we put with our welcome kits, and there was a list of attributes that I had in there, and one of them was that we didn't have any congestion. I can't say that anymore. There is traffic congestion out there.
Yes, but I have friends. Well, my son lives in Chicago, and we have friends who are from Chicago, and I would they moved here for a while, and I would say something about the traffic, and they would go, "You guys have no idea what traffic is." When they say when we give directions, or we tell somebody, "Okay, you're going over here, and you're going to go to Menards." Okay, it's going to take you about 45 minutes. They don't say it's 3 miles. They say it's 45 minutes. So, but we get tired of it because we're not used to it.
I had a buyer years ago, and a couple, and they wanted this much space and this much yard, and I kept taking them further and further north. And at the end of the week, we finally ended up in North Harbor. And he said, and they fell in love with this house on the golf course up there. And he turned to me and he said, "John, why didn't you bring us here the first day?" And I said, "Well, guys, it's about 45 minutes to your work from here." He worked at Gray Bar Electric downtown.
Okay.
And he laughed. And I said, "You find that funny?" And he goes, "You haven't asked me how long it takes me to get to work today." And I said, "Okay, how long?" And he said, "Well, I live in New Jersey. I work in New York. I get up at 5. I drive to the train station. I grab a bagel and a cup of coffee. I get on the train. I'm on the train for over an hour. Then I catch a bus. And then I get on the bus for about 15 minutes. And then I walk to my office, and I'm lucky if I'm there by 7:30. And he goes, "You're telling me I can have a cup of coffee in my car and drive and be there in 45 minutes? That's easy." And
Different perspective.
Exactly. You just don't know. You got to understand what people are coming from. I thought 45 minutes was a long commute, but he thought it was easy.
Yep. All right, John. If someone wants to get in touch with you about buying or selling a home, how would they do that?
The best way is to call my cell, 317-496-4033. That's 317-496-4033.
And Rick, how would they get hold of you or I?
They should go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right.
And thanks for listening to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. The gurus we interview share valuable insights. They reveal their strengths, personalities, and how they'll work for you. While the hardworking mortgage guys secure your best mortgage, real estate gurus work hard too. They avoid problems the amateurs just don't see. They listen, they find unrealized opportunities. If you're buying or selling a home, a real estate guru is a valuable asset. If you're even thinking of buying or selling a home, keep listening and definitely call one of Indy's real estate gurus.
All right, John. So let's do a sidetrack really quick. If I were to take away your phone, say you cannot work for a full day, what would we find you doing?
You'd likely find me on a golf course where I enjoy kind of getting away and turning off the phone for a little bit. I'm not a great golfer, but I enjoy getting out to play golf and getting out in the nice weather.
What's your favorite course around here?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I love Prairie View, Plum Creek. If I'm lucky enough to play in one of the country clubs, Meridian Hills would be one of my favorite. There are a lot of them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Now, what about? I know it's hard to pick a golf course, but when's our weather going to get better?
Great question. I had a tee time to play a couple of weeks ago, and I think the forecast as we went into the weekend was a high of 54 and rain. And I called my two boys and my nephew that I was playing with, and I said, guys, I have a new rule. And they said, what's that? And I said, I only play golf when it's my age or higher.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't play golf, but I have a bike. I ride my bike a lot. I have yet to be able to get out this year because it's either been too cold or raining
Right.
when I was available to ride. So yeah, I agree. It's just not good. So as you look at let's say you take somebody looking to get into the business, what would you recommend to them? What should they do? Obviously, get their license, but beyond that, how should they pick where they're going? What is it like to be a real estate agent?
Well, the one thing that is great, Rick, is that you're an independent contractor, and so you're your own boss. You make your own hours. The sky's the limit on income. So those are all the wonderful things. Personally, I like larger companies. I think in today's world, you've either got to be a one-man band or you've got to be affiliated with a large company. The medium-sized companies have gone away. And uh, if I were starting over today and I was 25, 26 years old, I might consider joining a team and look to someone who I would aspire to be one day and maybe learn from them for a couple years, 3 years until I got the hang of things and then break off on my own. Um, I've loved my relationship with the Tucker Company. I've been recruited by many other companies over the years, and there's a bunch of fine ones out there. But it's been just a great group of people that I've been associated with, from Bud Tucker back in the day to Fred to Jen Litton and today Pat Perdue and Donna Krebs. The management team is wonderful. I had a little issue over this last weekend in the Zionsville office. I was trying to use a computer and was having problems with it. I called my manager. She picked up the phone and walked me through it right there on the spot. It's great to have support like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, do you obviously being able to call people, that's unbelievable, and it's very helpful when they can tell you over the phone. But part of that problem is this new system, right? It's all new. That's why you're having problems, or is that?
That wasn't the problem Saturday, but you're talking about the new BLC
Yeah.
Connect.
Is that getting better?
It's getting much better, but it was a very difficult transition. I've seen a lot of transitions in my day, and it was just, there were still a lot of kinks in the system. And had it worked a little bit better, it would have been nice to have Matrix, the old system, and the new system working together for maybe 3 or 4 months instead of 3 or 4 weeks. It was a huge learning curve for new people, veterans like myself. It was a huge change, and it was hard to try and understand some of the kinks in the system. Most of them have been resolved, not all, um, but it was a very difficult transition.
Yeah. But it's gotten better. That's good.
Much better.
So, what would you say your superpowers are?
I I don't know that John Stewart has any superpowers, but I I would tell you this: if I was competing for a listing in today's world, uh, and I knew I was competing, I would say to the clients, you know, I think if you pick up the phone and call an experienced agent, someone who's been in the business for 5, 10 years or longer, and you would, and not one that you're interviewing, and you would say to them, I've got a choice of one, two, or three realtors. Which one would you select if you were me? I think my name would surface to the top many times. And the reason for that, Rick, is that while I think there are some people in our business that maybe I would prefer would be a little more professional, um, I've made it a practice to be as nice to everyone out there in the marketplace as I can. And if you don't get along with your other realtors in the system, then they're not going to show your listings. They're not going to want to do business with you. But if you create friendships with everybody, I think they're going to say nice things about you. And so I think that has helped me obtain some business.
And you've worked with quite a few of those people, I'm guessing, because you do a huge volume and you've been in the business for 48 years.
Yes, I have.
So that should go a long way. How important is it to have those relationships? I know you talked about it a little bit, but those relationships, like let's say in the market we just came out of, and I believe we're going right back in. When there's multiple offers and they see it, your name on that offer, what does that mean?
I think it could help to the extent that one, if I tell them something on the phone, they know I'm not bluffing them. I'm telling them exactly what the truth is. And they know that we're going to do our best, meaning myself and Shannon, to get that transaction to the closing table. We've had them pre-approved with a reputable lender. We've made sure that the client understands the process before they get involved in anything. And we've written what I would consider good terms in today's market.
Yeah, I I would guess, and here's the thing, a lot of people who haven't been in the business a long time have not seen the different markets. How many? I mean, you've seen all these markets. You know what every market you've lived through.
But Rick, I've never seen a market like we had last year and we're repeating again this year. I've never seen it. I don't like it, quite frankly. Um, and here's why. So you get a buyer, and I told you before we came on the air, I had one buyer last year that had to write 8 offers, and they got very discouraged. Number 6, she broke down crying. See, should we just forget doing this? And it's very frustrating to people like that. And I've never seen a market where you'd had to write 5, 6, 7, 8 offers, and it gets exhausting, not only for the agent but for the consumer.
Right.
On the other end, you list something and you receive multiple offers, and the seller is all excited. However, let's say you have 10 offers the first day on the market. There's going to be 9 buyers, 9 groups of buyers that are going to be upset, and 9 agents that aren't going to sell a house, and they're not going to be real happy. And so it creates a lot of, I guess, negative feelings in the market, and I just don't like it. I'm ready to return, and it's not going to happen anytime soon, but I'm ready to return to what I consider a more normal market.
And just your expertise, why would it not change for a little while? What do
The
you think?
biggest one in is because of lack of inventory.
Yep.
There just aren't enough homes on the market.
Yeah, because Rick and I were talking about this, that builders for the last decade have been decreasing their builds and everything. And then with everything that happened with the lower interest rates, it was just a big explosion.
We have a little bit of supply chain problem, so the builders can't get labor, number one, and then they can't get some of the supplies that they need to build the houses. And sometimes they can get it, but maybe not get it in the time frame that they want to get it. And so back in 2008 to 2010, you had the subcontractors, the framers, the painters that didn't have any work. And so guess what they did? They went to work for Amazon. They went
Right.
to work in other industries. And now that the business is going back the other direction, the builders in particular have reached out saying, hey, can you come do this for me? And they're like, no, we're very happy where we are. Thank you. And so that has shifted a lot of their ability to provide product to our industry for us to sell.
Yeah, and it's a big problem because you have a huge increase in the amount of households over the last 10 years, 15 years, and the amount of builds went down.
Right.
And now that all of a sudden these people, we have the biggest group of first-time home buyers hitting the normal first-time home buyer was 33. Now it's like 36 or something, but it's going up. But there was a huge birth increase back 30 something years ago, and it ran for quite some time. So we have all these first-time home buyers coming in, which first-time home buyers, by definition, don't have a house to also put on the market.
Right.
Right. So it's not like you said. I don't see it getting any better for quite some time as far as inventory.
I agree.
It could get better other ways, but right now I don't see it. I believe rates are coming down, and inventory is going to be tight, and we're going to be right back into the market we were, which is multiple offers and over list and that market again.
We had one situation last year, and it was a commercial real estate agent, so someone that you would think is pretty familiar with what's going on. And our suggestion was to list the house at $600,000, and it was a fairly young couple, and he looked at me and said, "There's no way." And I said, "Yes, there is." And he said, "John, there's never been a sale in our neighborhood anywhere close to that." And I said, "Well, I'm here to inform you, I think you'll get more than that." And he goes, "We'll never appraise." And I said, "You're right, it won't." And he goes, "Well, excuse me, how do we get to the closing table?" And I said, "People will either pay cash or they'll pay an appraisal gap." And he said, "What's an appraisal gap? I don't understand that language." So I explained it to him. I said, the lenders are going to loan him maybe 80% of the sales price. And if it doesn't appraise for that, then they have to come up with the difference in cash. And many buyers are putting that in their offers today. And he goes, "Well, okay, you must know what you're doing. You've been around for a while." We put it on the market for 600, and within 2 days we had, I want to say, upwards of 20 offers. The highest one was 685 with a $40,000 appraisal gap. And I called him. They were down in Florida. He was in shock. I scanned all these offers to him. And I said, "So look at the first one, 685 with a $40,000 appraisal gap." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, let's assume your house appraised for 600,000." And he goes, "Well, I don't think it will." And I said, "Well, I do. So let's use that as our benchmark." And he said, "Fine." I said, "You're looking at a 640 offer." He goes, "Okay." I said, "Let's go to the next highest one." It was 675 with a $100,000 appraisal gap. I said, "There's your buyer."
Yeah.
Because it only had to appraise for 575.
Right.
And he even felt comfortable at that number.
Yeah.
And guess what? That's what we sold it for.
That's awesome. And it's great for them, but it's how many people didn't get the house?
19.
19 people didn't get the house.
So 19 unhappy agents, 19 unhappy buyers, and a very, very happy seller.
And one really happy
One happy real estate agent.
All right, John. If somebody just heard that story and wants to list a house with you, how will they get a hold of you?
Oh, the best way is 317-496-4033. 317-496-4033.
And in John's defense, he cannot always dictate that that's going to happen to you too, but he will try his best.
Is that like what they say when I'm in stocks? It's past performance is not an indication or a guarantee of future performance. And to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. 317-672-1938.
All right. So now I think we'll get into the question of the week. And the question of the week is sponsored by Rick and I, the Hardworking Mortgage Guys, where we believe in helping and supporting you and your realtor through the whole process of buying a home by sending constant updates. Nobody likes to live in a black hole, so we do not allow it here. All right. So the question we have for you, John, is what was your first car?
Ooh, that's a good one. A 1962 Tempest convertible.
Wow. How old were you when you got that?
I
you remember?
was in high school, so I was probably 17.
Oh, he was one of the cool kids. See,
Yeah.
he had a cool car. Where'd you go to high school?
North Central High School.
Ah, so
Wow. All three of us.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. See, that that's a good school. When there's three of us right there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I had to drive a gremlin to school. I had people go, "Oh, those are nice." No, they aren't. But it's okay. My dad upgraded to a Pacer.
There you go.
So what kind of motor did that car have?
4-cylinder.
Did it?
It did.
But it was convertible.
It was a convertible.
And
Navy blue with a light blue interior.
Do you wish you had it back?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So you love that car.
Yeah. Paid $400 for it.
Did you really?
I did.
Wow. I wonder what it's worth today if it was in good condition.
That's a good question.
I guarantee you more than $400.
I guarantee you
that. I know. Because there's nothing I like better than going to the auctions, the Mecum and those.
Right.
And it just it's amazing what cars go for today.
Well, the older cars that are convertibles are the ones that are,
Yeah.
The keepers.
Yep. When the top goes down, the price goes up.
Yes, exactly.
That's what you hear. That is right. Now, one of the things that you were talking about before is you had 20 offers on this house. How does somebody keep track? I mean, that's part of the issue to me is how do you keep track of all the offers?
Rick, it's very hard. I mean, in that one, and that's probably the most unusual one that I had in the last 2 years. But we started with price and stacked them up from highest to lowest. But then you also have to look at the terms and see, are there appraisal gap languages in there? Are the dates going to be something that the seller can live with? How much money are they putting down? Do they have a pre-approval letter from a reputable lender? All those things you have to integrate into the decision. But you start with price.
Yep. And having a pre-approval letter is vitally important.
Crucial.
And it has to be from somebody that people at least know of and feel comfortable that they know what they're doing. I'm guessing.
Exactly.
At least that's what we tell everybody.
Well, and you want to submit those with the offer when you're presenting it to the listing agent.
Right.
I mean, you're putting your buyers at a disadvantage without having them.
Right. So if you get 20 offers and 4 of them come in with no pre-approval letter and they're not paying cash, do those offers even get looked at? I mean, they get looked at, but do they even make anything other than the shred heap?
They get shoved to the side, I'll guarantee you.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would think. And there's probably other things that did, and I'm guessing in that situation, if there were cash offers, those would also go to the top. They would, if you have them, rather than somebody getting a mortgage.
Along with proof of funds.
Yes, along with proof of funds. Yeah.
Right.
Because a cash offer with no proof of funds is not a cash offer.
That's correct.
Yeah, that doesn't really help you too much. So what do you think the most common reason people fail in real estate?
It's interesting. So I managed an office for Tucker for 10 years. And I told many, many agents, if they came around the corner and they had a buyer or a seller and they had a problem, I could help them solve that problem. But if they came around the corner and they had no business, no income, and they weren't working, I couldn't help them. And so it was simply, not working enough and then running out of cash. And those people would eventually have to go find another job. But if they were hardworking and they had a buyer or seller and they had an issue with inspections or financing or surveys, I'll help them all day long.
Yeah, because you can help them.
Absolutely.
You can't help the person who isn't doing anything.
Right.
I learned that long ago. If they don't want it more than I want it for them, there's nothing I can do for them.
Exactly.
You can only do so much. But it can be difficult to get started in this business. He laughs like he agrees.
I'm laughing because you're alluding to the fact that I told you before we came on air that I went 7 months before I sold my first house.
You did.
And those weren't fun days. I was very tired of people saying, have you sold one yet? Have you sold one yet? And believe you me, the buyers that I sold, 7205 Marla Drive, by the way, the buyers that I sold were so excited. It was their first house. And little did they know, I was more excited than they were because it was my first sale.
And you remember the address.
I do.
That's awesome. Do you remember the price?
I think it was in the high 60s.
Yeah.
So how many backflips did you do as soon as you walked out of that closing room?
I didn't stop smiling for the day.
Neither did his creditors.
So besides that, what would you consider one of your most memorable deals?
Ooh. So I do something very interesting and have only done this for about 10 or 15 years. I got my auctioneer's license only to sell real estate. And I've had some really interesting properties that we've auctioned. The most expensive one was in the middle of Williams Creek in Washington Township. And we recommended a minimum reserve to the seller there of $2 million. And I remember going back, visiting with one of the heirs to the estate, and he wanted to take me for a walk around the property. And I said, that's fine. He said, I've been doing some checking on you. And I said, well, you should. This is an expensive venture. And he said, I know some people that you and I both know, and they've told me some things about you. And I said, well, I hope they're good. And he said, yes. He said, they've told me that you're very truthful. And I said, well, maybe to a fault. And he said, well, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to be very truthful. And I said, okay, what's the question? And he goes, I've had two people approach me to sell this house. If you were me, wouldn't you just go ahead and sell it to them and not pay your fee? I said, not in a million years. And he said, why not? And I said, Jerry, name a price. I've told you the minimum should be $2 million, and I hope to get a lot more than that. He goes, well, I just tell him $5 million. I said, ooh. I said, I think you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I think no one's going to pay that for this property. And in the circles of friends, they're going to tell everybody this weekend, that's your expectation. And no one's going to want to look at this place because of your expectation. He goes, maybe. And I said, no, probably. And I said, let's go the other way. And he goes, what way? And I said, let's tell them $2 million. And they go, done deal. How do you know they wouldn't pay 2.1 or 2.3 or 2.4? You don't know, and I don't know. You already have two people that want to buy it. You already have a good auction. Let's go. So he agreed with me. We had 100 people at the auction. We only had 5 bidders. We sold it for 3.8. And he was one very happy seller.
He was. But, he already gave you the best knowledge that you needed, which is I have 2 people who want to buy it. Because the one thing I can tell you from being in many car auctions,
right,
is what you need is 2 people who want it. You don't need more than 2.
That's right.
You need 2 and 2 with money. And then you never know where the price is going because it becomes more than about the house. It becomes winning.
Exactly.
So why would somebody want to auction their home instead of just regular sell?
There are various reasons, Ian. The most common one is when you have divisible pieces of property. So if you take farmers, for example, they love going to the auction route, whether it's listing or buying. So if I ask you all today, let's say I have a 1,000-acre farm, how many people do you know that might be interested in buying it? Well, probably the list is not that long. But if I said to you, how many people do you know that might be interested in a 100-acre farm? The likelihood of you knowing someone is much more likely. So in the auction world, you divide it up into 10 100-acre parcels, and then you sell parcel 1, parcel 2, parcel 3, until you get done with the 10. Then you stop and you go, wait a minute, we're not done. We're now going to open it up for what we call combination bids. So you can do parcel 1 and 2, you can do both the ends, you can do the whole thing, you can do half of it, all up to the buyer. But if parcel 1 and 2 sell for $50,000 each, that's a total of 100. Then if you want to combine those, you've got to offer 105 or 110. As soon as you do that, we go back to the little fish and go, you're out. You want back in? You're going to have to up your 50 to 60. And then you'll total 120. Big fish is out. You're back in. And we play that until we've exhausted the whole process. So the multiple parcel situation is one of the huge reasons. Other reasons, you're tired and want to be done with it. I had a developer one year that was retired in Florida, and he'd been working his whole life, and he had a bunch of lots in Zionsville, and he said, John, just reduce the price to $25,000 each and let them go. And I said, whoa, don't do that. Let's auction them. And we did, and we got him a lot more money really quickly. And so there's another reason. A lot of people think this is the only way to go, the only reason to go to auction, which is you're desperate. You're under financial stress. And we do have a few of those. But you can also go the other way, which is there's so much demand for it, you have no idea how high the price could go. And so all various reasons, but those are some of the most common ones.
Well, hasn't our market lately kind of been like an auction?
It has been. And for that very reason, I haven't done very many, because in reality, we're going to auction almost every day when you put something on the market.
Right. In fact, real estate is kind of like a silent auction.
It is.
I never thought of that until then, but it is. Yeah, because you don't know what anybody else is bidding. So if there's multiple, that's how it is.
Right.
It's wow.
Okay, so if the market does turn, here's what you need to do: get all the buyers on a Zoom call, and then you just start auctioning off. I want to hear that tongue just rolling.
Here's the thing. I see it as a really good alternative if if you want to sell your house, if you can get if you can get people there to bid on my house, I think I'd rather do it that way than have it open, have to clean it every time, that kind of thing. There's a lot less. And I would think you're going to get the same price or more with an open auction.
You could. Um, sometimes there's egos. They get to people and they're like, well, I know that guy and I've got more money than he does, and so I'm going to bid it higher, just to show him. So you have some of that exists out in the marketplace. Um, and that's why, quite frankly, an oral open auction might do better than a silent auction.
Yeah.
But in today's marketplace, the realtors are like, gosh, we're going to get multiple offers anyway. And
Right.
how do they know whether it's going to be 10,000 over my asking price or 50 over? You don't know.
Right. Yeah. It'd be interesting. I don't know. It'd be interesting if you can't experiment with it, but have it and people come in, they see it, and then you have, rather than we accept all offers at such and such, it's okay. We're going to have the auction at 3:00 on Sunday. If you've seen the house, now you can make the bids. But I don't know.
All right.
It's
So
interesting.
we were talking before all this, and when we originally talked, and we were talking about how a lot of news organizations and even realtors that don't understand the market think we're in a bubble. And you and I were talking that there's not even close that we're in a bubble here, especially in Indiana, which we have to always say we are a total different market than, especially if you look at the coast places.
But I've talked to realtors all over the country. Most of them are experiencing what we're experiencing right now. No inventory, crazy numbers of offers being written, and prices going through the roof. Different rates of appreciation in real estate prices. And I've had a ton of people say, do you think 4, 5, 10 years from today, some of these people are going to say, oops, I paid way too much? And I don't think so.
I don't either.
I think there's a very good chance when we get back to what I call the more normal market, you're going to see prices starting to level off and maybe go back to that 2 to 5% annual appreciation versus 10%. But there are so many people that are, one, paying cash, two, are putting huge amounts of money down. They're paying those appraisal gaps. Now, where they're getting all that money, sometimes it's from family members. Sometimes they're robbing their retirement funds. Maybe that's not such a great idea. But I don't see these prices plummeting in the next decade. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see how. There's too much lack of inventory.
Right.
And there's too many people wanting to buy houses, which is creating a lack of inventory, and we don't have the houses. And the builders aren't building the houses because of, the supply chain issues, right?
All the above.
Yeah. So it's something. So in real estate, what would you say, how you have been able, how do you overcome roadblocks? What's your strategy for overcoming roadblocks that you
Give me a roadblock, Rick.
The inspection comes back and there's issues on the inspection. You're the listing agent and you have to go over it with the seller.
So I'm really lucky because when Shannon and I established our team, I said, we got to divide and conquer a little bit. And I said, I need help showing homes. And she goes, oh, I love showing homes. And I said, great. And I said, there's one thing about our business that I don't love. And she goes, what's that? And I said, I don't like negotiating inspections. And she goes, I'll do that. And I said, great.
So that's your strategy.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's call her and find out how she does it.
But what he's telling you is you get somebody, if you have a team, find somebody who's really good at that.
And Shannon's excellent at it.
Yeah.
And, her first thing is, one, she wants to get rid of all the nitpicky things. Are these major defects or are they maintenance items? That's number one. And then number two, before you get all emotional, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's break this down to dollars and cents.
Right.
So let's go get some firm estimates from reputable contractors that she's got great relationships with. And then let's see, are we looking at $200 or $2,000? And she does a very good job at accomplishing that. And then you make a decision. Are we going to do the work or are we going to give a credit to the buyer and let them do the work?
Yeah.
She had one recently. It was over $25,000 worth of issues. And, it was hard, but she worked her way through it and we're getting ready to go to closing.
Yeah. That's awesome. And that's the thing. You work your way through it. You figure it out. because everybody wants the same thing. Ultimately, they want to close on the house.
Correct.
Right? Seller wants to close, buyer wants to close,
agents want to close,
everybody wants,
yep.
lenders want to close.
Want to close.
Yeah, I always find it funny if there's an issue. It's like, sometimes people act like the lender didn't want to close on the loan. We always want to close. We will do anything we can within our power to close. You got to do what you got to do to make it close. That's exactly kind of the thing.
I know one thing that really probably benefit, and you may not see it as much now as you did back in the day when you guys first started, is working with Tucker. There's so many agents and stuff that probably been through that same situation that they're able to help you out. Hey, this is how I would do it.
There's very few things that come up in our business, Ian, that either Shannon and I haven't experienced, or you can't walk across the hall and talk to, a Biff Ford or a Matt McLaughlin and say, hey guys, help me with this. What do you think? And so those are all great resources when you have those people as part of your team.
I don't know. Biff has not sold very many houses, so I don't think he.
He hit, him. Those are the hitters. Those are the people that are. What do you call it? Everybody in the industry knows.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah, better than that. They're the ones. I mean, if you talk about John or Biff, everybody knows who they are. Like when I got in the business, I knew who you were, even though I had just gotten in the business, because and this is back in 91.
Right.
Okay. But everybody knew who you were. Everybody knew who Biff was. There were certain other people, many of them aren't even here anymore, but they were known in the industry. And you guys were known for positively, not negative. Some people were known negatively, but you were known for positive. You were phenomenal. And you've had the staying power. You've done phenomenal. You've improved the industry. So it's amazing what you've done. I just think and to be in the industry as long as you have is phenomenal.
Well, and the same to you all. You've been in the real estate business for how long?
34 years.
There you
go. Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to catch you.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah, I know. You don't seem like you're going to retire.
I'm not.
Neither am I. So we got a race, but I'm way back.
Hey, I'll catch up with both y'all. What now?
Not a chance.
Probably not.
Not anytime soon, anyway. So if somebody want to get a hold of you, have any real estate questions?
Best way?
Yes, best way. Number one.
Cell phone, 317-496-4033.
Yeah, and it's John Stewart with FC Tucker. What is that number again?
317-496-4033.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call us at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
And reminder, if you know any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance, contact Rick or I. We'll be more than happy to help you.
And follow us for more Indies Real Estate Gurus.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.